It's going to be a train wreck, but anyway, we'll just go from there.
Can only get better then.
Yeah. Okay, the stream should be starting. Okay. Let's check to see if the stream is up. At least I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you like say no problem now.
Okay, see, the stream says it's live. What am I doing here?
You have a advert. Skip the other.
I can hear that. All right, so
They can see us.
They can see us. Cool. Sorry.
Yes.
So guys, we're having some massive technical issues tonight, and I don't know why. You can have as many degrees, as many university degrees as you'd like, and you can still get completely besotted by Microsoft's updates. Okay, so what the problem is basically there was a massive Windows update the other day. Let me know in the stream if you can hear me okay. It looks like my voice is coming out all right.
You're getting a feedback delay. We're hearing our voices seconds later.
Yeah, I'm getting... That might just be through Skype, so the guys in the chat can let us know if we're getting feedback or delay. So we'll see if we can fix that anyway. Sound and Video says... sorry, 888 Berg, how are you going? He said it sounds good there. Is there any doubling of the voices? Because we're getting it in Skype. So at the moment I'm using Corsair gaming headset. This is not even working. And I can hear that feedback. Is that through? Have you got your phone running or something, Darren? That could be the speakers of your iPad or your phone. Have you got any of that running?
I've only got the iPad running so I can see what's on the chat, but that shouldn't be picking up. I've got a gate on that as well, so
okay. The feedback is coming according to my UV thing, the VU meter down below. Apparently it's coming from your side, so we'll just have to put up with it. It's not too loud. Okay, so that's probably just a bit of tweaking on my side. Probably even move the mic a bit closer to my mouth. Alright, so for those playing along at home, welcome to the stream. This has been a very, very frustrating, interesting start to the stream. I've never had this problems before. So basically what I've got is this is all for you guys who like to do YouTube. I've got normally a Roland Rubix 24 audio interface that plugs into my Windows PC, and it's been rock solid. And we did this Windows update about 2 or 3 days ago, and it's one of those Windows updates where you see, if you're ever installing Windows, you get that blue screen which shows that you're installing Windows, because it's kind of like almost like a DOS screen. It's very, very basic graphics on it and everything. So I knew it was a pretty big update, like a kernel type update, because it had that real deep just installer type screen. So if you guys have got Windows updates, just be careful with this new one. It's actually rendered quite a bit of stuff useless. And yeah. Anyway, so I thought, okay, well, I've got audio interfaces coming out my rear end here, so I thought I'll plug the arrgg audio fuse in, because that's supposed to be, the best audio interface in the world according to arrgg anyway. And that was working just as good as the Roland Rubix, wasn't it, Darren?
How's that, by the way? We shouldn't be getting feedback now.
That's actually perfect now. So yeah.
That was my fault. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. We all have little technical glitches.
No, I'm sat here with my 2 headphones on, and I can't hear that there's a speaker on the TV at the side that I've linked up the iPad to.
Gotcha.
Of course I couldn't hear it.
So yeah, Audio fuse not working. Obviously I'll get it working, but I just don't have 3 hours to troubleshoot this stuff before a stream. I actually started troubleshooting this at about 9 o'clock tonight, my time, because I start the stream at 10 o'clock my time. I know it's different times where you guys are. 10 o'clock is my time at night, is 2 p.m. UTC. So I started troubleshooting it all then, and here we are, and half an hour into the stream late, and it's still not working. So audio fuse not working, Rubik's 24 not working. I've got M audio in the cupboard, I could try that, and isn't it funny, the old trusty, these things. Gaming headsets. That's the only thing that's working. Now, funnily about all of that, we're supposed to be doing this in the stream tonight, which is the Korg Radias, and at the moment I have no idea how I'm going to get this thing to play. It's not coming in at all. You guys will probably need to fiddle with the stream anyway, but there's the Korg Radius anyway. So now I've got my mouse not working. It's just a terrible. Oh dearie me. Oh dear. Well, I have everything worked out for the stream and everything. So what to do? The whole stream is supposed to be all set and ready to go, and everything just fails on you. Anyway, let's not dwell. Okay, what can we start with? All right, let's start with.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to bring it up last week, but obviously it wasn't on. I was wanting to know what you thought of Katy Perry's lawsuit.
Great question. Yeah. So what I think of it is, I think it's a shame for the music industry. So I'm not a fan of Katy Perry and her music. I'm happy for her and her success and everything, and obviously she's, she must be doing something right because she's successful. But for someone to be sued, copyright, whatever you want to call it, over something that wasn't even really, it was very, very kind of loosely close. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've actually heard the two songs, the melody's not even the same. There's just basically one kind of rap bit that's kind of similar, and really, there's so many songs out there that you could say the same thing about. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost petty. It took the people something like 5 years to get the lawsuit up and running too. So I don't know what the delay with that is. But for me, I understand both sides, because I kind of like to process both sides, and sometimes I sit on the fence. But in this case, I think it's a shame for the industry. I don't really mind so much about Katy Perry. She's probably got stacks of money and she can afford it. But for the industry as a whole, for someone to not use anything, basically what they're saying, the message that's going out is that you just can't use anything. You've got to come up with something completely original, and that's not going to be possible. Like, it's almost like banning. We're going to patent the letter A, so that means we can't use the letter A anymore because someone used it in a song, or the note B sharp. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think, Darren?
Well, when I first heard it, I didn't really pay much attention to it, because they obviously play the two sort of riffy melody bits that sound similar, and that's the bit that everyone was playing, so that people go, oh yeah, it sounds the same. But when you actually dig down into it and then you look at it and listen to it, you realise that it's absolutely nothing like it, really. I mean, it's even in a different key as well. I mean, like you say, I mean, it makes you think, at what point do they say that's copying? Because I think it's
not.
Adam Miller. If you listen to his version, it sounds a bit like The Art of Noise. So The Art of Noise could sue.
My God! Pop will eat itself. I mean, just their whole existence was on. They've got Batman samples. They've got like famous actors, from movies, in all of their songs. It's crazy. And you know, you could just pull all of their rights down and get them, that force them to repay anything that they made out of it. It could just be such a proverbial can of worms being opened here, and I think that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not good for the music industry what's happened. It's hopefully it's just a one-off, and the dust will settle and we can just kind of get back to what we're doing. But I don't think so. I think this is one of those things where lawyers set precedents on. Do you know what I mean?
That's what they were saying. Now it's set. I mean, it might calm down, but now it's set.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone that's going to jump onto it. I mean, is it like copy? I mean, it's like 4/4 beat. I mean, you can't copyright that, surely.
Well, who invented it? Where do you start?
But with this lawsuit, it sort of gives that sort of precedent to go for things like that, doesn't it? You're doing a 4/4 beat, and certain bits of it sound similar to another techno track, which all 4/4/4. But if it sounds very similar, why not sue? I mean, yeah. I think for us who are not making any money out of it, it's not going to affect. But as soon as any money's involved, the lawyers are going to be on it for, I don't know, you used the same wind sample that someone did. It could go bizarre.
Yeah, and just for those who are joining my stream, I do apologise for the audio that we're getting. I mean, I'm basically... Think of me streaming right now with my arm tied behind my back and one leg has been amputated. I can't even... this microphone that's here in front of me, this beautiful Rode NT1 here, I'm not even using it. I'm using this terrible gaming headset that I don't even use this. I use this actually to make telephone calls with this headset. It's crazy. And in fact, I just had to move the side of the earpiece off one of my ears because I can't even hear myself talk. So it's just terrible. Anyway, let's not dwell. Okay, let's get into some funny stuff. You ready for this, Darren? We've got some funny side lined up. Hopefully this is not going to fail. Let's roll the stinger. Hopefully, did you guys see? Did that work? There's two voices of me. Okay. Well, hopefully you guys can see some funny stuff happening here anyway. That's the whole point. So let's see if we can persevere. So who sees this? It's Watch Robert Pant. Why Roger Waters. For those who follow my Facebook, they probably would have seen me post this early during the week. But I had to put this one up. Who likes that one? Geez, those gardening shows, they're great, aren't they? On the net, on the TV and that. So I think that's a UK gardening, a famous UK gardening show, and the characters, yeah, they're well known, those characters. I can't remember the names off the top of my head because I've actually watched that. You guys will know. Yeah. So yeah. So while we're having technical problems, Darren, you're not coming through on the stream just for the moment. Just it's annoying. Just see if I can get you on here somehow. Let's not just worry, but we'll keep rolling with it, okay? Okay, the next one is, have you been experimenting? This is like a mum talking to the kid with ambient again. And he looks really guilty. Gee. I'm a dad, so I get this one. I've got a teenage boy. All right, moving right along. Next one. This one is supposed to be kind of like a social media grab. Producer tip. Always throw a big reverb on the master channel before exporting to hear what your song will sound like when you invertibly play it to an empty room. That is gold, that one. Oh, jeez. That is gold. All right, keep going. Here we go. A child's voice changer. And then there's the Roland JDXI. An adult's voice changer. So I don't know if that's it. Let me just double check. I think, yeah, that's it. So let me get back to you, Darren, because you've been missing out on audio. Ah, jeez, the stream. Sorry, guys. There we go. Darren's back. There we go. Technical problems. Darren, you can talk now.
You can hear me, can you?
Yeah, we can all hear you.
Yeah, I'm going to put some reverb on everything I do, I think. Spot the reverb.
Yeah, we're so crap, aren't we? When we make our $2 from Skype, after we've had 70,000 people listen to our music, and we've made and we have to just put reverb on everything. Especially on the snare.
Yeah. Well, they do say reverb and delay make anything sound fantastic. So.
That's true. That's true. All right. So next thing is my new segment that I've got, and I actually made a stinger for it. So hopefully the audio on the stinger is not horrible. But anyway, I can't even hear this, so let's try. Ready, set, go. Geez, that's a long stinger. That's a long stinger, that one. I'm gonna have to speed it up or something. Anyway, it took me all of about 5 minutes to make that stinger. Can you tell? So your audio is not working for the moment, Darren. So just give me one tick. This is eBay scammers, but I don't know if you guys in some of the other. I know in the UK we have Gumtree and we have Gumtree here in Australia. So I don't know if it's in America. I think they use Craigslist over there. But this is called Gumtree, and if you can, I don't know if you can see that. This is real. I got this on my mobile. One day I was during the week last week, and this is actually in Coburg in Victoria. You can just see it down below the price there, so that's in Australia. So someone is actually really selling a Moog MF104M analog delay. So the real Moog Foga pedals, and that is the price he wants for it, 5,500 Australian dollars. So what's that in US? 0.7, I think. 3,850 US dollars. For those playing along at home in the US, it's probably similar sort of pounds, 3,500 pounds. That's a lot of money for a delay pedal. So there is my scam of the week, and feel free to go and buy that, by the way. Feel free. What do you think of that price, Darren?
It's a bargain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got to buy one of them. I know. I've seen even on eBay. I've seen things going for daft prices. It's like I'm sure they misprinted it, but it's like some of it should be about 150 pound, $150, and it's got like 1,500, and I'm thinking they must have misprinted, surely.
It's nasty, what they're getting up to, and I mean, like, what I'm trying to do with this eBay scammers thing is these people, when I put them up, they're supposed to be real. These aren't like doctored, photoshopped images, where I've got an eBay listing and I've just changed the price in Photoshop. These are actually real screen grabs. So that's why that one's a phone grab. And last week was the auction that ended. You remember? Not last week, the week before. Sorry, because I didn't stream last week. The ARP 2500. That was nasty. 78,000 pounds or whatever that was. That was crazy stuff. So yeah, and just so you know, last week you might remember I did a graph on the what was it? The SH101 prices, and it was looking all kind of really cool and everything. Let me see if I can grab this up again. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. I can't find the graph right now, but there was last stream I did a graph on the SH. Darren, you remember the graph I put up, and I just wanted to report to let you know that none of the prices have changed since then, and we probably won't be able to update that graph now until probably September, because it probably only is once a month type thing. So, and we're going to fill a couple of streams in between that. Yeah. Anyway, so funny side's over. eBay scams over. There's not really much news in the synth world. I didn't think anyway. There's a few things floating around, but I didn't think they were quite worthy enough of getting onto the stream anyway. I think there's just little bits and pieces coming out this time of the year. Darren, did you catch the Roland thing that came out? They've released a new era. I don't think you can call it era, can you? Because it sounds like error. Ira, I think, is what they call it, don't they? Yeah, because that's probably more of a Japanese name, isn't it? Ira.
Yeah, well, the Roland TRA-OS sort of dropped the era name, didn't it? Because it used to have the green all the way around all the era products.
Yeah.
And it seems to have I don't know if they dropped it, but I didn't see the new one, no.
Yes, last week there was no stream. Unfortunately, I did make mention of it in the stream the previous week that it's unlikely to go ahead, and that was because I was working, and I was actually working at an expo. Do you guys have expos in the UK where you like trade? They're like trade shows. So I was actually working at a trade show, and standing on my feet for like about 8 hours. So, I was buggered. There's no way I'd be entertaining on a stream after that. I was probably snoring by the time it was time for the stream anyway. So you do apologise for last week, but we're normal people here. This is not a job. This is just a bit of fun. Okay, so yeah, the new IRA product that they brought out was a new DJ controller. So I'm not sure they sent me an email about it. I don't know if I kept it. Did anyone see that new Roland? DJ707M. Here we go. They actually did send me an email. So it's a integrated live sound console loudspeaker management system, fully fledged performance DJ controller equipped to handle demanding audio needs of working mobile DJs. And the reason why I thought I'd bring it up, especially you, Darren, and I know Inky's floating around. I don't know if she's still there, but she's in the chat. Is because this particular controller has the ability to control lights, lasers, and all sorts of other stuff in it. So I think it's the first kind of fully integrated thing just from one box. Does that make sense? Like most of the DJ controllers are either associated just with audio and mixing and things like that, but this one's got a few other bells and whistles. Someone said to me that they've checked it out, and the only thing I reckon, the next iteration, if Roland are going down this path, is they might put their video stuff in it. So do you guys know that Roland do video switching stuff? So they've got like HDMI switches, and so they're getting into that whole part of the video world for streamers and that. I've actually got a review on my channel I did a couple of years ago on one of the video switches, and it's very similar. Like all of their hardware in the video world, it's almost like it's taken all of its sort of ideas from the music stuff that they've made over the years. So it's kind of weird. It's like if you've got a video switcher from Roland and you're pressing the pads, it's almost like you're hitting TR8 drum machine pads. It's crazy. It's maybe it's made in the same factory. I don't know. But anyway, the DJ707M is the new one, and let's see if I can find a way to get that up for you guys, so we can talk about it. The only problem I've got though is if I bring it up on my screen, Darren doesn't get to talk. Roland DJ707M, but I think I'm not trying to advertise stuff for Roland. I'm just trying to sort of show that they've actually finally brought something out this year, because really they've been pretty quiet, haven't they, Darren?
Yeah, well, compared to the year before, I suppose you could say, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose the DJ you're on about, the DJ7, is like because you've got because I think you use it, the Roland MX1 mixer, which is like a sort of live performance mixer. So I suppose it's just like going on from that, really.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, isn't it? Okay.
I was hoping they was going to do an MX2 with more channels, a bit more to it.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get, with all these technical problems I've got, I'm trying to get this screen to come up so that I can show you guys. There we go. All right. And where is it now? DI source. Sorry guys.
I was just watching what Enkid put about. It's mainly Pioneer though for DJs.
Yeah, definitely mainly Pioneer. Okay, so I'm just resizing a window and trying to get this to fit. Okay, Darren, I'm going to try and see if I can get you to talk. I'm going to see if this works.
Right. Can you hear me?
You guys should still be able to hear Darren. Let me know in the chat if you can or you can't. Let me just grab my YouTube channel back. Guys, just give us some feedback because I'm having technical problems tonight and I've had to just about rearrange my whole setup just to get this stream going because I know you guys, you know, I'm doing it for you. Okay, so this is the DJ707M controller. It is a Serato controller. Okay. So I just like the marketing way they talk is just so annoying. Okay, so it's got scene presets, loudspeaker management. Okay, you can see this, can't you, Darren?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Cool. So you've got zones, so you can manage, you know, master booth zones and things like that. It's got this anti-feedback thing. Have you seen anti-feedback before in some of the DJ gear? That's actually a cool thing. So this is supposed to, you know how you get that really nasty whistle when, you know, someone picks a mic up and they're half pissed and they want to talk about, you know, I'd like to thank my family, and you get the feedback. Well, this has got some technology in it that even anticipates feedback. And I think you guys know what I mean by that too, because when you at a wedding and something, and you know the feedback, it's like a split second before it happens. You know, that's going to feedback, and bang, split second later, the big whistle goes through the speakers. So this is what Roland have worked out. I don't know if they are the first, but the guys in the chat will let us know. Roland will have worked out how to get feedback fixed. It's got dual USB ports, so this is a big thing. So when you've got when you're doing a set and your laptop dies, you can have another laptop on standby, running Serato and stuff like that. So that's one way you can use it. The other one is you might want to change from performer to performer. So you can have one performer running their laptop, the other one plugging theirs into USB part B. They can set up as they go, and then bang, it's seamless across from one performer to another. They basically just nudge the other performer out. So there's kind of two benefits to that, which I thought was actually pretty clever. And apparently it's class compliant. Yay! Roland are doing class compliant USB. Wow, who would have thought? There's extra inputs, zone outputs. The zone output is big. This is a hint, I think, where Roland are heading to the video world. They're starting to show video stuff coming in. So this has got the thing with the laser show and video playing and stuff like that. And they're also, you know, they're showing where they're going with the technology. They want people to plug cameras in. They want people to live stream. You know, it's kind of the way the world's going, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know,
as long as the USBs do plug and play, because you know what it's supposed to be like, plug and play.
Yeah. I actually liked this picture. I don't know if it's coming through very clear in the live stream, but they've actually integrated that desk into, you can actually see it's like a wooden box that they've got on a trestle table, and they've got the nice turntables on either side. There's a spot for the laptop at the back of the table, and then there's a little hole, and you can see all the USB cables and everything going through the hole. It just looks so clean. Look at that setup. That's That's the cleanest setup I've seen. Like, how many setups do you normally, like, there's wires and cables and half drinking beers and that's actually beautiful. But anyway, there's blah blah blah. They crapping on. So yay, Roland have brought out a new product. Let's see what they've said and chat about it. Serato versus Tractor, yeah. That's going to be the age-old argument, isn't it? Video DJing or VJing is what Inky's brought up, and I think that, I mean, that's been around for ages now. But what that means now for you guys who are DJs is you kind of, if you're not VJing, as in the letter V, not, it's almost hard to say VJing and DJing and not hear the difference. But if you're not VJing now, almost you're kind of a has-been, aren't you? The crowds, they want all this extra wow factor, don't they? They want cameras, they want lasers, they want you know, video footage that dances to the beat. It's getting crazy. Anyway, let's bring Darren back in. There we go. So there you go. That's really the only news that I thought was worthy of bringing up, and it's not because I'm a Roland fanboy or anything like that. It's that I just thought they do, like, everyone bags Roland out. Oh, they should have remade the TR-808. They should have remade the Juno. You know, Darren, you've got a Juno there. You people say that all the time, don't they, mate? But Roland are saying, no, we want to keep going forward. And you can see they're doing that. So they did remake stuff, but instead of remaking it analog, they remade it digital, and it sounds just as good. So they're keeping to their mantra, and that is, we want to keep progressing forward in the future. They're a technology company, so they want to bring out something new. And I think this DJ desk is actually, I think it's not the answer, but I think it's definitely them showing their muscle, and they're showing where they're headed. And I think that the next iteration of this will probably be like the MX1 mixer. You guys know the MX1 mixer, right? That's that performance mixer they brought out about 4 years ago. That's amazing. I've got one. I reckon they'll have something integrated with that. They'll have a desk like this. They'll have video interfacing, and they'll have sampling. And it'll be all built in to the one. It'll just be one, like, mega unit. So yeah,
it'll be one shop does all type of thing on it. It'll be a big piece of kit that you just better buy. That's it. You can DJ, you can VJ, the whole lot.
Yeah, and they want to make it so that you are pretty much. There was that photo I showed before with the laptop. They want to get rid of the laptop. They want you to get rid of the laptop. So basically, they want you to just tweak knobs and spin turntables and wow the crowd. So you haven't got this laptop screen. In fact, I've gone to places, and I've heard people in queues say, "Oh no, this guy, nah, he's a bit naff. He's got a laptop." Have you heard that? The laptop factor.
Yeah. Well, they see the laptop goes to the side, screen up, and they just go,
Oh, he's just playing MP3s right on his laptop.
Yeah. That's the problem, isn't it? It's
yeah.
The thing is, though, Roland have got to get in where pioneering in all the clubs, aren't they? So
they're trying to, aren't they?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
Yeah. So anyway, DJs aside, I mean, we, at the end of the day, DJs are the most probably important people out there because they're bringing music to the masses. So, we've got to embrace them. So that's the way it is. And I think the more you can start getting them into a creative sort of, there's that crossover, isn't it? The producing and DJing, that creative center. Once you start, like guys like Robert Miles. Have you heard of Robert Miles, Darren?
I certainly have.
Yeah. Have you ever seen him?
Have
you ever seen him? Oh, he's gone now. Yeah, but have you ever seen him play live in the past?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Back in time.
Yep. So you'll know what I mean about being a producer and a DJ in one. Because he's kind of one of the many, but one of the well-known ones that he was actually a really competent DJ, as in like he could spin records like anyone else, but at the same time he actually made music, you know, at the same time. So this is kind of what I'm saying. This is that sort of idea now with the video and the visuals is kind of where they want it to be. It's not a new thing. I'm just saying that's where it's kind of being forced to go.
Yeah, they're just trying to combine everything in that normally you used to have. You had the DJ, you had the lighting guy, you had the visual effects guy. They're trying to squeeze everything into one, so you become your own. You basically become an own. It's like your own show. Everything is yours, whether it's the lighting, the music. You're basically one and all together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing that, but that's going to cost a bit of money for me.
So, okay. So who's in our channel? We've got I don't know if I've said hellos, but anyway, I'll say them now. It's probably too late. So I've mentioned Inky. Hi to Inky. Normally Inky's on the Skype, but she's taking a back seat this week because she's been live streaming with someone else. Triple Eight Burger said hi to you before. Mac Mister, g'day to you. So it's nice to see you here. Barramundi, great name that, Barramundi. I think we would probably call it here in Australia. After the fish, famous Australian fish. Have you ever tried barramundi? Do they ship barramundi up to the UK?
I couldn't say whether they do or not. I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's a native Australian fish, so I'm sure they farm it overseas as well, because you just bring fish eggs and have a little estuary and farm it, But it's a beautiful fish, probably my favourite eating fish in the world. I've tried lots of fish, and that one is probably my favourite. It's very, very smooth. It's not gamey tasting. It's not like you know what I mean by gamey tasting fish? It's kind of, it's along the lines of whiting and jewfish and snapper and that sort of style of fish. It's that sort of taste. It's not like a mackerel gamey sort of taste. That's the opposite, if you know what I mean. So I don't know if you eat much fish, but that's barramundi for you.
Yeah, I don't mind fishing. The problem is when I get a bone in it, I go, ah!
Yeah, I used to be like that when I was a kid. These days they're pretty good at filleting though. I very rarely get bones these days. What sort of fish do they have at the chipper? Do they have... What's the main one that they put through? That if you just say I want fish and chips, what's the go-to?
Well, it used to be cod, but with the cod stocks going down now, they use I forget what they use now, but they've got to tell you if it is cod or not. Whereas one time it could be anything, as long as it looked similar to cod, like Kaylee or whatever. But it used to be cod.
So in Australia they use a fish called hake, or Hake, right? Which is you've probably seen it, and it's like a very, very light tasting fish. It's very it's almost it's almost like you're eating nothing. Very, very light tasting. So and they're just plentiful. So I don't know if you guys have had hake before, but that's the go-to fish in Australia when you get a fish and chip meal. We're going off on little tangents again. Anyway, okay.
Well, you was going to talk. Was it clones?
We were going to talk clones. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So
what do you think about the cloning of all synths? I suppose mainly Behringer are the ones that are really going out for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's so where do we go with this topic? So basically, what I wanted to kind of bring up, and we'll get the chat guys in because I know that they'll definitely they'll buy into this. Okay, so Behringer have probably, how many years do you reckon they've been cloning now for? At least 4 years that I know of. Okay. They've been sort of stating that they're going to do it. I think maybe nearly 5 or 4.5 or something years ago, and now they've got plenty of them out there. So basically, where I wanted to go with this is, it's not really a Behringer attack thing, which I think everyone's done to death. Would you agree? Like, it's more, if we're going to talk about cloning and we want to be fair about it, there's kind of two issues. There's the issue of is it ethical to remake something that someone else has made? And even if that company is inexistent, and we can use Moog as an example, we can use Korg, and I'm just trying to think of the other one off the top of my head. Roland. So those three, for example, right? And then there's potential for Yamaha to come in soon with the CS80. So there's the ethical argument. Is it ethical to clone something which someone else has already designed and made, and that company that's already designed and made it still in existence, but someone else is going to be reaping the profits and benefits without paying any sort of licensing or having any sort of legal claim over it? Now, we know that patents have expired. We know that side of it, but this is more of an ethics argument. So there's the first part. The second part that I think is probably more the under the radar thing that's happened is that if you've been watching and reading social media lately, a lot of people are saying, well, why is everyone bashing Behringer for cloning stuff when the 303 is a perfect example? So Roland brought the 303 out in the 80s. They didn't make that many of them, and then they stopped making it. And then all of a sudden, that they've worked out a way to make it sound different, and then it became this go-to bass machine of acid, and all of a sudden it became this sought-after product. There were so many companies that made clones of the 303 before Behringer, and I don't think Behringer have actually made one yet. They've announced that it's on the cards, but they haven't actually made one yet. So while we are bashing Behringer for cloning stuff, let's just bring back into the fray that there's the XOX box, there's so many 303 clones out there, and in fact there's actually quite a lot of TR-808 clones out there too. So are we bashing Behringer just because we can? Because they're cloning stuff? Or really, are we being fair? Should we be bashing those other companies that are making those clones when really they've got away with it? And I think, like, there's a really, really kind of convoluted example that probably almost tears all of this argument apart, and that is Roland's SE02. Do you guys heard of that synthesizer? It's a boutique, and you know the boutique synthesizers, right? The little ones that you click in to the key. They have the little keyboards. The SE02 was the only one that Roland made that was analog, and it's the have I got one? Yeah, this one. So you guys can see this, right? This is the SE02. Which way do I go? That way. Yep. And Darren's showing us the TB03, but Roland can clone their own stuff, right? But this SE02 is a collaboration project with Studio Electronics, right? And what is actually this synthesizer really based on? Does anyone want to have a guess? What does Studio Electronics do mainly? What do they mainly make? What's the SE01 based on? The answer is a mini Moog. And it's got the mini Moog filter in it, the ladder filter. It's pretty much that Studio Electronics were making mini Moogs, modular stuff, and so where do we go with this cloning argument? Do you know what I'm saying? So you've got a lot of people bashing Behringer, but Roland have cloned the mini Moog through Studio Electronics. I know it's not exactly. Like, when you say clone, you could say, well, it's not a clone, is it? It's a replica, or it's different. But where do we draw the line, Darren? Where do we sort of stop bashing Behringer and saying, well, hang on, they're just making stuff that people want?
Well, at first I was like saying, no, you can't make clones of this, that, and the other. And after a while, I thought, no, yeah, you can, because people have been asking Roland for, I don't know, years and years and years to do an 808, but a decent 808, not the boutique, because I had the boutique 909, and it sounded good, but it's just a boutique, and it's too fiddly. And people have been asking for a bigger version, and Roland just went, nah, we're not going to build one. Behringer come along, and because now the company's quite big, they've got all those chips going out, which is good in one way because you can repair some of the older stuff because they've released all these chips into the market at a lot less cost.
Yep.
They come out with the big 808. Everyone loves it. That's what they wanted, but Roland didn't want to build one.
Yep.
So I think 808 Berg said, if you don't cater for what people want, then someone will. And I don't see the reason why they shouldn't, because they're not wanting to make what people wanted. And I think that's where the boutique from Roland came in, when they realised a lot of, I think Korg started it with the Volkers, but they weren't like, on other Korgs. But
Yeah,
Roland
they weren't
thought,
cloning anything, were they?
yeah. And then Roland thought, well, wait a minute, people have been cloning our synths drum machines. Let's make our own series of ACB technology ones in the boutique form. So they've cloned their own synths in a way, in a smaller form factor digitally. So I don't see why. I can't see a problem with it now because people want these machines, and like you say, Roland and the likes are not bringing them. They're moving to the way they want to go, which is like you say, with the new DJing equipment and so on. So I think yes, you might as well build it if you want to, because no one's going to buy an all 303 now. I don't know. You're looking at 1,000 now, isn't it? Plus for an original 303.
Yeah, easily. Yep.
And you get the clone. Behringer make the clone, which is nearly identical. You're not going to tell the difference. I think the MS 101 was about $300. Is it $300? Something like that. So they're going to make it.
Yeah, $299.
Yeah, for the
Yep.
generation.
Yep.
For the new generation, is never going to buy an original 303, and they're still going to hold the price because people are always going to have that sort of prestige. I've got the original, but I don't see why you can't. I mean, you do it in VSTs, so you're just making a box basically, a clone in a box. I'm sort of with it now. At first I wasn't, but now I sort of, yeah, I think it's fair.
So the argument. Remember at the start, I was saying there's an ethical argument, and then there's the other argument about, well, who do we really bash for cloning? And the answer is, well, why are we bashing? When I say why are we bashing Behringer, I'm not bashing Behringer, and Darren, I'm not saying you are either. When I say we, it's kind of like the we as the world. Why are we bashing them? Because maybe they're an easy target. Maybe they don't fight back. I don't know. This microphone is killing me. It just keeps falling down.
I think why Behringer have got that sort of bashing more than others is they sort of like came out to the trade shows and they said, we're going to clone this. As the companies are just slowly cloning the odd synth under radar. Behringer came out and deliberately said, we're going to clone a Roland 808. We're going to clone a Roland 303 or possibly the CS80. We're going to do that. And I think that's why they got the bashing for it. If they'd have just been a smaller company under the radar making the 808, I don't think we'd have heard much about it.
Yeah. So here, let's spin the argument on a bit of a skew. Do you remember how at the start you were asking me about the Katie song and the law, the lawsuit, with that copyright? Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of, is going to shake the industry up. But what about this? The fact that when you think about it, the guys that invented the Mini Moog, right? They invented the Mini Moog, and it's got a pretty standard sort of subtractive synth layout where it's got an oscillator, a filter, envelope, and amp. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty standard layout. Now, nobody before them had that layout. Like, if you look at the ARP Odyssey, it didn't have the same layout as that. It was different. And then the Buchla stuff was different, and then the stuff from London, what are they, EMS guys with the VCS3, the Synthy, you know, the AKS, that stuff, that wasn't the same layout. So at that particular time, there were similarities. You know, you were making oscillators and things like that, but the actual layout in the way that you function was pretty much different. But then, like, look at this. This is the Radias, right? The Radias has an oscillator, filter, amp, envelope, right? It's a digital synth. So is that synth copying a mini Moog? This is where we kind of can be skewed. Do you know what I mean? So is that synth copying a mini Moog? Because really that's a subtractive synth, isn't it? You can't really sort of, and it's got formant, and I know it's got some other stuff in there, but on the majority of this synth is actually a subtractive synth. So you actually, when you're doing sound design on that, it's subtractive. And it's subtractive in a way that replicates the mini Moog. So do we then say, well, everybody's copying the mini Moog? You know, so then there's this thing. Is that copying the mini Moog? Because it's using pretty much similar technology. If anyone's interested, by the way, in the SEO2 and what it looks like inside, I actually did a video. I actually pulled this thing apart. It still works, by the way. I do pull some things apart and they go back together, okay? But do you get what I'm saying? So when we're doing our little ethical rant, and we're sort of having our view, like the vegan argument, vegan cyclist argument. Do you guys get vegan cyclists in the UK?
Probably.
Yeah. So sorry to any vegans on the channel. I'm just joking about that, by the way. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we're getting PC or politically correct about something, and we're bashing Behringer because they're cloning. They shouldn't be, you know, monopolizing on ARP. You know, ARP are a company that doesn't exist anymore, and you know, at least Korg went and spoke to Alan, and you know, they got what's his name? The other guy, David Friend, because I think Alan had already passed. You know, we Korg spoke to David Friend, and they got his blessing, and so they went and they did that. Whereas Behringer, they're just making these ARPs and the Odyssey, and they're going to make the 2600, and then they're going to make God knows what. They're just going to monopolizing on it. Well, you know what? This is a newsflash to the world who are getting their noses out of joint with this stuff. If Behringer are making ARP, it's because they've been asked, and they know that they've got the capability of doing it. They wouldn't make it if it was a complete, if the market wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it was a complete waste of time, they're not going to invest in research, development, making of cases, and designing the UI, getting everything. They're not going to go there. Korg have already done that, but why are they doing it? Because Korg didn't do it quite right, did they? Do you agree, Darren? They didn't quite do it.
Yeah, I mean, they had the chance. They could have really gone back through their back catalogue and I think done a really good job. But like you say, if you can't, it's all right saying everyone's bashing Behringer, for instance, but if they're bashing them and they don't think it's a good idea, then nobody buy their clones. But people want to buy their clones, so there's no point in bashing because they're not going to make anything that someone's not going to want, and obviously people want it, like you say, so it's going to be made. On Korg, yeah, they did the MS-20, didn't they?
Yep.
With the mini keys.
So they made their own. They cloned their own thing.
Yeah. Well, they've got they could have done quite a few, couldn't they? I mean, the MS-20, even they could have done an MS-10 full size.
They could have done the Poly 6, the Mono Poly, you know. And I've heard that Behringer even thinking about doing the Mono Poly. So
I always wanted a Korg prophecy. I don't know why.
oh yeah. Wait, was that after the Triton or before the Triton?
It was before, I think.
Yeah.
Before.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I bring the Triton up is because there was some things that the Triton did that many at the time that many other synths didn't do. So I think if you're gonna clone a synth, clone something like a Triton, because actually it's it's like an amazing synth. It's got a string machine in it as well as a proper multiple oscillator, multi-voiced, analog polysynth as well, and it had some amazing capabilities. But yeah, I don't know. Look, the whole thing for me, this is why I'm bringing it up, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are going off on tangents and they're getting really out of bent, out of shape with this whole clone argument, and we have to actually acknowledge the fact that Behringer aren't the first to clone, and they're not going to be the last to clone either. I mean, Mac Mister mentioned the Eurorack scene. I've only
Yeah.
just started getting into that, and same with you, Darren. We've only just sort of wet our whistle on that, haven't we? But really, the Euroracks have been cloning stuff for ages. From day one. Like they've got Juno choruses, they've got ARP 2600. You can actually modularize your own ARP 2600 if you want. You can just buy all the little you know segments of it.
Yeah.
You can get CS80 stuff. There's all sorts of stuff you can get. So
The Jove 8, which is a filter from the Jupiter 6.
yep,
Which is what I want, actually.
yeah, that'd be nice. By the way, that's a very similar filter to the SH101. By the way.
Yeah.
So technically, so I think someone asked me in chat before. I have to scroll up here. While we're talking about cloning and stuff, someone asked me a question about the MS101. Who was that? Does your SH101? Okay, so the question was 888berg asked me, does the SH01A sound as good as the MS101? I thought I had talked about this in another stream. So the answer to that question is in some cases yes, and in some cases no. So where it sounds as good is you can get them both to sound probably identical, but where it sounds like one of them sounds better than the other, it's kind of weird. So something's digital, and there's ways it can behave at the higher registers and the lower registers, and you can tell there's artifacts in digital stuff. With an analog thing, it doesn't have that. So there's that argument. Then you've got the argument that SH0108 is a 4-voice polysynth, which the original SH101 wasn't. So that's cool. And then you've got the fact that the envelopes on the digital one are actually snappier than the analog MS101. So there's that. So there's a whole bunch of things that you could go off on tangents on, and each one of those tangents that you go on could actually be a benefit for one and a disadvantage for the other. So that's probably the argument, and I don't really sort of want to dwell on it, but that's kind of my answer is I will never sell the SH01A and I'll never sell the MS101. So there you go. Now there was another point, Darren, that was in chat too. Where are we? Marshall, how you going? Nice of you to join us. The Japanese are smaller in stature, but why does every release tend to make a toy format? Slim keys, boutiques, yeah. So Volkers. You know what? It's not really an Asian market thing. You're aware of what we're talking about, Darren? How a lot of stuff that's coming out is small, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely not an Asian market thing. It's not the fact that Asians are smaller and they've got smaller fingers. You know, look at sumo wrestlers; they're pretty big. So what it is it's kind of like they've got their idea from Eurorack. I mean, if you want to talk about small, go play with Eurorack. Then you're going to be talking small. I mean, boutiques are not too bad. There's a boutique there. That's probably one of the most, you know, tightest, tiniest boutiques on. I think the Jupiter 8 clone one was pretty small with the little sliders on it as well. But, you know, look at my fingers. I've got big, chunky, fat man fingers. And you can see just how small those knobs are. They're tiny, you know. It's actually smaller than my fingernail. I'm doing great camera work here. So that's a boutique. Volca's smaller than that.
You think them are small? You put a bunch of 2 HP modules together,
Yep.
and that is small.
Yeah, and then you've got all of the patch cables hanging around it like spaghetti, and then you've
Yeah.
got to try and get your finger in there and turn turn a little knob.
That's why you run
that's
away
your
when you
right.
get this patch.
That's it. Yeah. So that I hope Triple Eight Berg that answers your question. I don't think it's an Asian thing, and I definitely think it's a form factor thing. Definitely, because you know, people don't have space to have hundreds and hundreds of big, massive synth modules. You know, they made synth modules bigger in the 80s because they had to, because of electronics, but that doesn't take up very much space. You know, it's a module that you can just pack away in your backpack, put a battery in it, that sort of stuff. That's the whole point. It's kind of, what would you say, function as opposed to overall function, as opposed to, they're not really worried about whether you've got big fat fingers or not, are they?
No, well, even so, you can use them as sound sources anyway, because they all take MIDI, so you can have a MIDI control, and if you want to spend the time map it to each other, smaller ones, and then off you go. But it's like you say, it's a bit like not the pocket operators because they're just going to extremes, but it's handy. You can, like say, pack up a few, take them to a gig, even play them. Whereas you could probably get what four boutiques to the same size as the Roland TR-808.
Yeah.
So you can pack up a synth, a drum machine, an acid box, and a Jupiter 8. Although it's a cut down version, but even so.
Well, there's a pocket operator.
Yeah. Now, you see, I think they should come in a case. I don't think it should come like that. I think it should already come in a case without having to buy the case separate.
I only ever bought one, and I don't ever use it. It's a waste of space in here. I'll probably sell it.
They're about 54 £54. I think the new one's about 84, and then you've got to buy the case on top of it. It's just, I'm not saying they're not good sound though; they're nice to play with, but it's not for me.
I think there's a toy factor about them, isn't there?
Yeah.
People get
suppose,
really upset when you say this to, you know, or the teenage engineering fanboys will probably, they're not toys. I'm not saying they're toys. There's a toy factor. It's an endearing comment. It's I actually am attracted to that idea that they're kind of got a bit of a toyish, you know, theme. I actually like that. It's not a negative. It's a positive. What I'm saying is that you know, these things are meant to be. There's an attraction to them. You know, they're innovative. They're small. They're cool. So the Volcas have a similar sort of feel, don't they, Darren? They've got like a toy factor to them.
yeah. I mean, like you say, those pocket operators. I suppose you could say cheap. I don't think they're cheap for what you get. I mean, they should come in a box in an actual case. But if it gets kids into making music, all the better, isn't it? And it's it's almost, as they say, it's a stocking filler. But you can plug it into a studio. But it's like say they're sort of not one for them. I'm not saying they're not good, but
Yeah. And like I said, I've got one and I don't use it, and yeah, I mean that's $70 I won't get back. I could have spent that on beer. I I can't even work out really the benefit of actually, like, would you record something like this professionally? For me, it's kind of it's all just samples, right? So you know, you could find these samples and put it on your MPC, or you know, there's other ways to record better than this. So for me, this is more kind of just like a that's the toy
It's a
factor.
yeah, it's a noodling tool, isn't it?
It's a doodling tool, exactly. Sitting on
Yeah,
a train with your headphones
yeah.
plugged in.
Going, oh, I've got something really great. Wait till I get back home and get all the kit out. Sort of copy what I've just written and bin the little pocket operator off. But yeah, they are what they are.
Mm. So so getting back to our kind of like our bigger subject is, well, we're talking about clones. What do you guys in chat want them to clone, and why? So they haven't cloned it yet. What is it that you want them to clone, and why? And Darren, I'm going to start with you. What would you love someone like Behringer, if they're able to do it, or whoever? You can pick the company, and what is it and why?
I would probably say, but like I say, it's on the horizon though, isn't it? The CS80.
Yep.
I think the CS80.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because it's a proper big classic synth that I would just love for the well, let's say for Behringer to clone it, because I'm sure like they've done with the 808, they've still got a few extra little features to it, and the 101 that they cloned, there's a few extra features, you know, to bring it up to date, but they've still kept the basics of the original and the sounding as close to the original as possible. So I think the CS80, I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah. So don't forget, guys, in the chat. The question to you guys is, what would you like someone to
Lindrum.
clone, and why? And Marshall was saying that he would like a Lindrum clone, please. Well, I think someone's announced that they're going to clone a Lindrum. I just can't remember off the top of my head who it was. So while we're talking about the other people in the chat and what they'd like to clone, someone might want to Google that. I'm pretty sure I saw an announcement that someone's cloning a Lindrum. I literally saw it during the week. And anyway, Mac Mister said an Oscar. Yeah. If anyone should clone the Oscar, don't you reckon it should be Novation? Because they're pretty close to the original creators of the Oscar, aren't they? So,
Would they ever clone anything?
well, I think one of the guys that created the Oscar is still kind of around and working with them on a, I don't know if it's full time or on some sort of basis anyway. Inky might know.
Roland Space Echo.
Roland's tape RE201 Space Echo, yeah. So the RE201 actually had real tape, you know, in it. So if they were to clone that, that means that, you know, if they were to do it sort of the proper way, they'd actually have to put tapes in it. So is that Triple Eight Berg? Is that actually what you want them to do? To actually do it with proper tapes, or do you want a digital replica? Because you know they've already done a digital version of that, and it's not that good, in my opinion. Barramundi said a new machine drum FM drum synth, and it should have at least one joystick. Okay, interesting. So Electron, Barra, do you want Electron to do that? So like a Digitone machine drum with a joystick. That'd be a good little graphic to do. Inky's saying they've already done it. Mine was the ARP, the Odyssey. I'll tell you what mine is in a minute. So Inky's closer to where I'm heading. On Mac, Mr. saying Oscar for the sound. With the Oxford oscillators, yeah. Yeah, I've got the Boss. Triple Eight Berg's talking about the Boss pedal clone. I've got the same one. And yeah, so he wants tape. We need to do tape on the stream, I think, because I think tape is heading back. I've got some stuff to do on tape.
I need to get some tape.
Yeah, I reckon we should tell Novation, hey, whilst Behringer are getting all the clone limelight, why don't you guys do the Oscar? I reckon they should. I reckon that would be very, very, very big. That's cool. That's a cool synth. And then the Oscar, and there was also the Wasp, wasn't it? There was I think Wasp was before the Oscar. Yeah, Wasp was before the Oscar.
I've got the Dope Wasp filter behind me.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it?
You can see the yellow one there.
I can't see it. Hang on, let's get you full screen. Stay there.
See the yellow button?
The yellow one, yep.
Yep. Wasp filter by Dope. So that has a really squelchy sound, raw.
All right, so we haven't had anyone else talk about what they would like. So mine is the I think you guys know this. Mine is the ARP 2600, and we all know that's probably most likely going to come out very soon from Behringer. I always thought Korg were going to do it. Hey, I actually, when Korg brought out the ARP Odyssey, and they made it 80%, I thought, oh wow, this is actually a really cool idea. If they bring out an ARP 2600 and make that 80% as well, because it's quite a big thing, and you could shrink it. It's not like it's, you could shrink it like Eurorack. And I thought, oh, this would be really, really cool. But Korg never did it. And I don't know if it was because Tats, the guy that, the famous engineer that did all the Volca stuff, if it's because he left, I don't know. So Behringer are gonna make the 2600 that I know of anyway. So Chris Huggett, yes, 888berg is correct. That's him, Chris Huggett, and he's working at Novation. So if Chris works for Novation, they should just make the Oscar if they're going to do clones. But I don't know if Novation are kind of into clones. I don't think that's their forte. I think Novation have a little bit of Roland-esque about them, where they like to be progressive. So I don't know. I think it'd be cool. I'm not saying it's not, but I think
they're not looking at past. I think they're going forward.
They're going future. Yeah. Marshall's saying, yep, 2600. R2D2, yeah, and all the rest, So yeah, I think in terms of, I think everyone in this chat and on YouTube right now on our live stream are probably in the same boat. I don't think anyone here is big on bagging out clonings. So where is all of that coming from? That negative? I don't think it's I actually, the point I was kind of wanting to make, Darren, about the cloning is that if it gets you, and I'll bring Darren up full screen and you can chat about this, if it gets you to be more creative, if you get a clone of something like an 808 or a 303 and it gets you to be more creative and that inspires you to make music and be an artist, that's got to be a good thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's anything that gets you creative, anything that makes you feel creative, I think it's got to be a good thing. And like you've said in the chat, we're all saying clone this, clone that. So, like you say, where has this big backlash for cloning, mainly to Behringer, come from? But like I said before, I think it's just the fact that Behringer were the sort of first bigger company, as you could call them, telling people what they were going to do, and they were going to touch all this sort of like equipment and these old synths, old drum machines that people thought they were like classics and should be left alone. Behringer came out and went, no, we're going to clone them. And I think that's where it started from, because if you listen to people in the chat and us as well, we want them to clone all sorts of equipment from the past. So yeah, I can't see why it shouldn't be done.
Yeah, and I think,
and also, sorry,
yeah,
also like this, I think it was 88berg said, modular has been cloning stuff since it began. That was the whole part of modular in a way.
But at least 10 years, probably longer. Someone will be able to tell us too how long Eurorack's been out for. It's been out for ages. So
yeah,
I think the biggest thing for me is I want people to be creative. So if something's affordable and that gets you inspired, that gets you to make a sound, whether it's a vintage sound that you want to recreate because you're in love with it, or whether that you want that particular instrument to see where you can go with it and maybe find some new pioneering part of that vintage machine, I think it's good, and it makes it affordable. Then all the better. Like the MS101 that I've got here, $299. You know, pound or whatever it is. It's really cheap when you consider how much an SH101 is used. It's crazy, and this thing just has, because you know it's basically an SH101. This thing just has the simplicity of that synth makes that synth so good, and it's just the way it's been built. It's not a mini Moog, right? It's different, but yeah, the fact that synth, just for me, it's all about the architecture of it. It's very, very unique, and I mean, so many people have cloned the idea of the SH101, you know, and put it into other synths, you know, synths that came out. So by actually cloning an original SH101, it's brilliant for me. I don't have to go and spend $2,000 or £1,200 or whatever it is, £1,000 to buy, or US dollars to buy an SH101 that's 36 years old.
That might break.
That might break, yeah. And then I have to find those chips. And then, let's pretend Behringer didn't remake the chips. Where am I going to get them from? I'm going to have to find another one and use it as spares. You know. So.
But here's cloning. We're only cloning analog equipment, really, aren't we? Which is a bit obvious. You're not going to clone a digital synth.
Well, there's the SP1200.
Yeah,
the Euler Instruments.
It's the odd one, but yeah. on a whole, it's mainly cloning the analog equipment, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the vintage computing market's cloning stuff like crazy right now.
Well,
you know, there's remakes of Commodore 64s, and you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But they're not true clones. They're digital replicas, like what Roland did with the boutiques. So the FPGA stuff. So let's have a look in chat. We've got MSM 5500. So a big shout out to you. And he's saying the problem with clones is that you get too little per buck spent. For instance, you would have spent $1,000 on a bunch of Behringer stuff just to barely get close to what a Roland System 8 can do. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a bit of food for thought, isn't it? But then again, if you were to buy a Roland System 8, could you just use your computer and just have a bunch of VSTs? So where do we draw the line? Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
It's not wrong or right, is it? It's just what you want to do. Yeah, look, you're never going to get a pure digital analog argument out of me, because I know that, for me, I know that there's a big rabbit hole that you can go down, and you'll probably end up in a corner, and someone will say something, and they'll say, "See, I proved you wrong." For me, the digital analog argument is based on what my ears say. So if my ears say to me, "That sounds cool," then there's no argument. If my ears say, "Nah, I can hear, that sounds very steppy, that's digital, that sounds naff," then that's where I draw the line. I'm not going to buy into digital analog argument. And I think the SH01A MS101 is a perfect example of that. What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, I think we said this on the samples on the last talk. Whatever sounds good, does it matter whether it's a clone, original, or sampled? It's all about, like you say, it's all about ears. If you like the sound and it's what you're looking for, it doesn't matter whether it's a clone, a VST, a sample, the original thing even. If it's in your track and it sounds good, that's fine.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so and it looks like they're all kind of talking about the same thing. So I think we're on the right page now. On the stream, for those who came onto my stream looking for me to demonstrate this, I'm going to have to postpone this. Sorry. But I actually have no way of getting the audio at the moment out to you guys. About the best I can do is put these headphones up to this mic and do this. It's yeah. I have a massive issue with audio interfaces for those who have just joined me, and it's to do with the Windows update that I was forced to do. Thanks Windows, thanks Microsoft. During the week, I've got two audio interfaces sitting down here. One's an Audio Fuse by arrggg, and the other one's the Roland Rubix 24, and both of them aren't playing, so I don't know what's going on. And this stream, we managed to get the stream going, didn't we, Darren? It wasn't the best of situations, but we managed to get it going. So
it wasn't easy, no. It was took a bit of well, you could draw an argument on Windows Mac. Just updates, don't they? Do you?
Oh, we don't want to go there. So this, I just wanted to show you guys this tonight, and I was really excited to show you because I think I'm gonna probably sell my Radias. It's only because I don't use it enough, but you can see it's an amazing looking synth. It's got a crazy looking interface, and it's 100% digital. It's really big in terms of for those who don't know, let's just bring up the stats so that I can give it a plug. Alright, so 24 voices, they're all digital of course. The whole thing is digital, okay? 24 voices. It's actually very similar in design to the Korg MS2000, but it has a lot more capabilities than that. It has the Korg Digital Waveform Generator System, or DWGS. This thing came out in, I think it was 2006, I said, didn't I? I can't find it with the disc. Anyway, the big thing that this has got is it's actually got, I don't know if it shows you there. Blah, 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 blah. There's a part where it shows, yeah, here we go. See the timbre select here? So it's actually got 4 parts. So it's actually a multi-timbral synth. And with 24 voices, you can divide 24 voices, over the 4 parts. It's actually still got plenty. It's 2 LFOs. The oscillators are massive. Look at all the different waveforms. Plus, you've also got formant, noise, PCMs, drums. So it's got samples in there as well. It's got 2 filters, 2 LFOs, 3 EGs, and it's got onboard effects, and it's also got a sequencer, and it's also got an arpeggiator. And this particular model, is normally plugged into the keyboard that comes with it, and it's sitting over there. But I've taken it off, so you can actually make this a desktop module, or you can actually rack it up onto the keyboard. And my microphone keeps falling down. It's yeah. That's really just kind of the nerdy description of it. But really, at the end of the day, I've got to get my audio interfaces fixed before next week. I'm going to bring it back next week unless someone else wants to do something different. But where the strength of this is not the specs that I just read out. The strength of this is actually kind of bizarrely in the sound. So this thing has an almost a unique, what would I say? A very synthy sounding sound. Does that? If you go back to a lot of music that was made in, the late part of 2000, before 2010, sort of that sort of genre, and it had real synthy pads, synthy sounds. A lot of it was done on Radias. Very good for sound designers and very good for people who just wanted big synthy sounds. So there you go. Anyway, sorry, I really apologize, but I just have no way of getting that audio out of that into you, when really all I've got at the moment is a gaming headset working, which is just pathetic for me. But yeah, I've spent an hour trying to fix it. Oh, and also I forgot, this has got a vocoder in it as well. So yeah, I forgot about the vocoder, the formant thing. I don't think I just changed screens and I should have changed it back. Sorry. There's the vocoder part there. So it's got audio inputs in the back here. Yeah, I've teased everyone about it. No one can hear it. Sorry guys, Darren. I'm terrible, aren't I? I'm horrible. I'm teasing everyone. It's like Behringer saying they're going to release something and it takes 5 years for them to release it.
Well, should Korg do a second version of that?
Yeah, should they? There's another synth I've got called the M3. Have you guys heard of that? Which came out, I think it came out like a couple of years later. And you can actually hook this up with the M3. You can actually plug this into the back of the M3. And you can actually get the Radias as a card, an expansion card for the M3. So the M3 can be a Radias as well as an M3. And the whole thing is just basically, it's really just a computer. Really, that M3 is just a PC. And Korg's proprietary system. It's all Linux based, I think. There's a video I've done on the M3 where I've repaired the touchscreen. So if you want to check out what the M3 looks like, go check it out on my channel. But I'm going to keep the M3 because I've got the Radius expansion card in it, and that's why I don't need to keep the Radius. So, to me it's overkill. What are the guys saying in chat about the Radius? There's a few people that have got one.
Marshall thinks the superstar of the JP8000. I always wanted a JP8000. Well, the desktop version, the 880. Yeah, I always wanted one.
Yeah. I've got a micro Korg, the famous micro Korg, and the super saw on that's pretty good. The super saw on the Radius is pretty good. The super saw on the System 8 is incredible. So whoever's got a System 8, I've got one. That's probably, what did you say, the JP8000?
Yeah.
Yeah. The System 8 can do the same super saw sound. So it's amazing. Virus has got probably arguably one of the best super saws, Virus. But yeah, anyway, so there's not really much more I can do with this stream tonight, is there? We can talk, really. We're chatty. No demos. So for those who joined the stream late, there's no Radius because of me, because I'm experiencing technical issues. At the start of the stream, we did all our usual segments for Funny Side. We did the eBay scammers. This was a Gumtree scammer, this one. Not really a scam. It was just really exuberant prices for a guitar pedal. 5,500 Australian dollars for a guitar pedal. You'd have to be pretty desperate for that pedal, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, surely you'd have typed in the Moog delay pedal or anything, and others would have come up, and you'd have gone, that looks a bit expensive. You surely wouldn't have just found that one and gone, I really want that one.
Well, it's got what is it? The Bucket Brigade delay chip in it. But it's not like that thing is extinct, is it?
No, not by a long shot. You can buy them brand new now, can't you?
Well, I think that Call Audio company is remaking them, so they're the Curtis-based ones. So I don't know. I actually don't know if the Moog one is Curtis-based, but I got an email from them earlier this year saying that they've remade a small amount of them, and the only way you could buy one is if you went into their whereabouts are they? Nashville or something? Asheville? I don't know. There's some, wherever they are, North Carolina, wherever the Moog, the store, the actual factory is. You could go there and buy them. So I emailed them, and I said, I live in Australia, and I don't really think it's economic for me to fly, and I think there's other people in the world that would be in the same shoes as me. Maybe if I decided I wanted to buy one, would you be able to post it to me? And they never replied. So I was going to put the credit card over, to get one, but they never replied. So I thought that was a bit disappointing. They don't love me. Behringer to clone the Alpha Juno on the cheap for those delicious Radias tabs. You know, the Alpha Juno is basically basically a Juno 106. The only real difference between them is they got rid of all of the knobs and sliders, and they went with the the menu diving. They started the Alpha Juno was one of the first synths where they started bringing out the menu diving type stuff. There was a stage where synths got rid of knobs, right? It's almost like people, probably don't believe it, but there was a stage where they had knobby synths, and then all of a sudden, knobs disappeared, and there was a reason for it. Does anyone remember what the reason for it was? I know what it is, but I just want to see if anyone else does in the chat. So why did Roland bring out the Alpha Juno? It's got hardly any knobs on it at all. It's got like an LCD screen. I don't have a photo of it, I don't think. I could probably try and get one up while you guys are talking. Alpha Juno. There we go, let's get an image of one up. So, how do we full screen these things? No, that's not going to full screen it. Anyone in chat said it yet? Darren, I'm not looking at the screen right now.
Not yet.
Is that still showing the Roland stuff? Oh, here we go. It's woken up.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go, guys. There's an Alpha Juno if you're wondering what the Alpha Juno looked like. See how it's got no knobs on it at all except for the very basic stuff on the left-hand side. It's got one big massive knob, which is called the data wheel. And so Roland went down this rabbit hole for many, many, many years, where everything was all like this, wasn't? I mean, you've got an XP50, don't you, Darren?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Not very many knobs on the XP50 either, is there?
Nope, you've just got your data wheel up here, or data wheel, whatever. And then it's just a bunch of buttons, sorry.
So it's kind of similar. And the reason why they went with no knobs, let's have a look, see if anyone in chat knew. Inky saying because it was the 80s and they wanted everything to look cool.
Yes.
Inky she could be right, but no, it was because a lot of the synths that had knobs on it, they were getting very dirty and dusty, and they were hard to clean, and they were also confusing, and they wanted to be able for people to be able to store patches and memory, and they didn't want the knobs, to, what's the word? They didn't want the knobs to get in the way of what people remembered. So it was more for a performance reason, keeping things clean, keeping things easy to recall memories, and basically it started the whole rabbit hole of people programming synths through these data entry screens, and they were terrible because they were just like a calculator screen, really, weren't they? At the start, they got better.
It was for presets as well, wasn't it? So you could just bang as many presets in without having to worry about all these sliders.
So it was more like, I mean, look at the Radias. The Radias has got a screen, right? But they started bringing knobs back because that's what people wanted. So yeah, knobless synths were. I don't know. Maybe we'll go back that way. Who knows? We don't really know. We went with knobs, and then we went without, and then we're back to knobs again. So who knows? I know for a fact that my Radius has got a scratchy main volume knob on it, and I need to put some of that deoxit spray in it. That might be the other reason why they got rid of knobs, because they were snapping off and breaking and things like that. Hard to repair. all the young kids. So Barramundi's saying all the young kids are thinking, why the hell are people not just getting Serum and Live and just playing with their laptops? Oh dear. Yes, why aren't we just playing with our laptop, Darren?
Exactly. Well, we could do, couldn't we now? But you still can't beat playing with the old vintage stuff.
We won't repeat Inky's joke. You guys can see it in the chat below. So there you go. But it's part of history, you know. The knobby synth disappeared, and we had these things for a while. The Alpha Juno was one of the first knobless synths, and it started a whole, probably almost 12, 13 years of synths where they didn't have knobs on them. So there you go. But for those who are playing along at home and they was thinking about let's get an Alpha Juno, well, believe it or not, it's pretty much a Juno 106 under the hood. Pretty much. I know there's people that would say it's not 100% the same, but, you know, who cares? It's pretty similar. It's analog. It's an analog synth, so, you know. Why is it not the same? Well, okay, I'll tell you why it's not the same. Because when you do a filter sweep on the Alpha Juno, it's a digital control filter sweep. So it's got stepping because it's actually digitally controlled. In other words, it's a MIDI filter sweep. For those who have done MIDI filter sweeps, you know what I'm talking about, how it's only got 128 steps, you know, so you're going to hear it step. Whereas a proper analog synth is actually it's a voltage. It's a proper voltage change, and it's uniform throughout. So there you go. But yeah, I think we're probably done with the stream, Darren. I'm sorry that we couldn't do a perfect stream tonight. I feel bad. As you know, I just really wanted to do the Radias tonight. It would have been awesome. So I don't know. Maybe I might be able to do a special extra stream during the week or something. We'll see how we go. But next week it's definitely on the same time, 2 o'clock at UTC time. For those who don't know what UTC time is, Darren, can you tell the world what UTC time means?
Well, what is UTC time?
Ah, he doesn't know either. Okay, what's GMT?
Great British, because we're in summertime now.
So Greenwich Mean Time, GMT.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're running at 3 o'clock. But when we go to winter time, we would be running at 2 o'clock.
Okay, so the world, right, has time zones. Okay, and what UTC time is 0. So 0 is when you're talking about where you live in the world, you might be a plus hour or you might be a minus hour. So if you're in the US, you'd be minus something hour, and if you live where I live, like in Australia, I live at plus 8 hour. So UTC is the 0 time. That's the 0 time zone. That's what it means. Someone else can tell me the exact meaning of UTC. I think it's Universal Time, UTC time. Coordinated Universal Time. There you go. That's what it stands for. And there's an atomic clock somewhere. I think it's in London. There's actually an atomic clock that keeps it. Someone who's a bit more nerdy will be able to tell me all about that. Greenwich Mean Time. GMT is the other way of saying it. So anyway, 2 p.m. that time. So you take your plus or minus depending where you live from the 2 p.m. So if you live in the US, I think it's minus. What is it? Minus. What's the US to you guys? -6. 6 hours difference.
Depends on what side of the US.
What would New York be? -3, -5.
-5, I think.
Yeah. So if you live in New York, it'd be minus whatever it is, -5, whatever your time zone is. You just take it off 2 p.m. So you go back in time or you go forward in time. So yeah, -5 is Eastern, and it would be -8 would be what LA, would it? Something like that, -9 or -8. So you know, it'd be probably a little bit early in the morning for the LA people, but we do catch the people in Boston and New York and places like that. So they're more than welcome. And obviously, if you're living in places where like where I live, it's later at night. So anyway, that's it. Say bye, Darren.
Thanks a lot. Nice stream. And hopefully it'll be working better.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. Catch you guys later.